Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Okay, save the changes. So we have the changes saved. Now go back to your object. Click on that. Click on open. Now you're seeing that. Now just change it to HTTP. You'll get the access denied. Okay, so it's not going to traverse on HTTP. Okay, so we enforced encryption while we transmit the data.
Wasn't one question.
Yes, George.
Does the bucket policy can be enforced from an organization using SCP, or it has to be specific to each bucket?
It has to be specifically within the bucket. You cannot enforce it from SCP.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
So that is there. Then we have okay, so this is how we enforce encryption using S3. We talked about bucket policy. We talked about ACL. Yes, how we do the cross-region replication. Okay, what is cross-region replication? We'll talk about that. Okay, so there's one more thing, which is a cross-region replication. Okay, so what is cross-region replication? Let me give you a scenario of it. So first of all, what is cross-region replication? There can be a scenario, guys, where you have to copy or replicate your content. I'll give you one scenario of that. For example, let's say you have a logs created on different child accounts. You want that all the logs which has been created on your child accounts, that should be replicated to a one centralized security account. Okay. So in that case, so that if even the child accounts they deleted or the admin is very clever, he wants to delete his own logs, he comes into the bucket and he deleted his logs. But as the objects is being replicated, what is first of all what cross-region replication is? Cross-region replication means that whenever the object is dropped on this S3 bucket, let's say we need two buckets for that. Okay, so if you have a source and destination, so that means the source and destination will be synced up into cross-region replication, so that if one thing is copied on one bucket, that must be automatically replicated to the destination bucket. And that we do in case of when we have a sensitive logs and we want that all the child logs should be or must be coming up into the centralized cross account, so that if even the child account deletes the logs, we have a replicated copy of it, we have a synced copy of it. So anytime a new object has been dropped on the bucket, that will automatically get copied to the other bucket. Okay, so that is what you have to do. So you see that this is a replication. So to do a cross-region replication, you have to, there is one condition, and that is like it can be one-to-one relation, like you have a source, you have a replication destination. So if you are copying the data, let's say Sony Demo 2 to Sony Demo 3, and then your Sony Demo 2 has been completely integrated with Sony Demo 3. And in future, if you want Sony Demo 2 content to be copied to Sony Demo 4, this will not happen. Okay, this is like one-to-one. You have one source, one destination. Okay. Also, it's a cross-region replication. That means your bucket has to the other bucket where you're going to copy it. That has to be in different region. Okay, or in a different account. So this has to be also, you have to take care of that as well. So if you're doing a cross-region replication, why we do it, I explained to you. But if you wanted to do it on the other bucket, you wanted to copy it, create a other bucket first. And then there is a one requirement or prerequisites, you can say. The prerequisites is that the object from where you're going to copy it, you have to make sure that in that particular source bucket, versioning is enabled. Okay. So we already enabled the versioning. That's why we are able to see the versioning of all the files which we enabled automatically, like which we enabled during the time when we created the bucket. So yeah, so that is already there. So you go to management, and then there's a replication stuff. So if you click on action, or sorry, click on create replication rule. Okay, and then here you will choose an IAM role, which will be doing the replication on your behalf. Okay, status enabled priority. What will be a source bucket? Here you are saying that source bucket will be this. If you want to add any prefixes while the data will copied, that you have to do it over here. Then you'll choose a destination bucket where the data will be copied. Okay, that you can choose it off when that should be in different region. And that's it. And once it's done, what will happen? Any object which will be created on Sony Demo 2 will be automatically replicated on your Sony Demo 3. That will be a part of your lab. Okay, so you will be doing a lab where you will be creating a cross-region replication buckets. You'll be creating two buckets. You'll have to enable a versioning on one of the source bucket. You have to create another bucket on different region, and then you have to copy it, or you have to see this replication working or not. Okay, so that's a cross-region replication, that you are going to replicate the content from one bucket to another. Okay.
Vasant, one more question.
Yeah.
So when we do this cross-region replication for S3, does the source bucket needs a role to put object on the destination bucket?
Yes.
So we have to manually create that role, or it will be?
Yes, that's a good question. So when you create a replication rule, it asks you to create a role for yourself. Like if you have to choose a role, that's a drop down. So the role has to be created, or there's an option called create new role. If you click on create new role, it will made a new role for you. Okay. And that particular role will take care of the application stuff.
Right. Thanks.
Okay.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
All right. Okay, so that is cross-region application. And then in the management, there is one more thing which is called life cycle. Okay. See, when this has been, I'll give you a scenario of this also. What is life cycle and what is from the security point of view you will be using more oftenly. See, we have a retention period policy, right? For how long we want to keep the logs in the bucket. So, so after that particular period of time has happened, we just want to delete the objects. We wanted to delete the object, right? So there's a lifecycle rule over here. When you click on the create lifecycle rule, okay, Okay, so you write your rule name, and there should be filter type, object type, lifecycle rule, action, transit version between, permanently delete previous version of objects, and then for how many number of days you wanted to delete them. Okay. Sorry. So if you have a retention period of time, like for after 7 days, the logs should be deleted. So objects becomes non-concurrent, and when it's be deleted, when expired marker you wanted to delete, even you wanted to delete uploads or something, current version of objects, anything, you can write it down over here, like how many days, 7 days. Within 7 days, this objects will be deleted and permanently will be deleted. First, the object creation will be deleted, and a number of days after object has been created will be deleted, current versions, and also the previous version of the objects will be deleted first within 7 days, so that you can create a rule on. And once you create that rule, what will happen, your particular objects, all the objects which are below within 7 days, they are going to delete them. So what usually when a security we do, right, we do send our logs to S3 bucket, and from the S3 bucket we trigger a lambda, and that particular lambda takes the logs from this S3 bucket and push it to our SIEM tool. It can be any. You can have Splunk as an SIEM. You can have any SIEM tool. You can have Akamai. You can have CrowdStrike, and anywhere you wanted to keep your logs into, you can put your logs data into those SIM tool. As SIM tool is already taking a track of the logs, and you can monitor your logs from there. So there is no it doesn't make sense that you keep your logs on two places. So once the logs has been completely shipped, after 7 days, we delete the logs on the bucket. Okay, and that's what we, in a management, we create a life cycle rule of, where you have a policy in your organization where you wanted to you have a retention policy, you wanted to delete the logs after some period of time, and that retention policy is there, and you wanted to follow that. Then you use a life cycle, you create a life cycle rule, and you delete the things. Okay, so that is how we do the log retentions, or log deletion for a specific period, after a specific period of time. Okay. What else we have on S3? We saw a bucket policy, access control list on the permission from the security point of view. We saw how we can enforce encryptions on S3. We saw cross-region replication, lifecycle management. And then there is one more thing called pre-signed URLs. Okay. There can be a possibility that you don't want to, let's say, I'll give you a scenario. You have an object in your bucket, and let's say that you wanted to share this object with anyone with a specific period of time. Okay, let's say I have an object and I don't want to make my bucket public, but I want to share this object with, let's say, anyone from the crowd. I want to share it with George, let's say, right? So if I wanted to share this object with George, what I can do is I can create a pre-signed URL. Okay, and what is a pre-signed URL? Pre-signed URL is nothing but a URL which will have a token for a specific period of time that this particular object can be exchanged. Or I'll give that it generates a URL, and that particular URL will be used to access an object, and that particular URL actually have a token and a time period, for what particular time period you can access the object. Okay, so let's say if you have a case of such, where you have to share your you have to share your data to anyone else, then you use this pre-signed URL option to share the object. Okay, so it's the best way in S3. We have looked upon bucket policy, IAM policy, object ACL, bucket ACL. So what is pre-signed URL is like, we basically do it in order to, as I said, that you wanted to share an object from the URL for whether it's any particular person for a specific period of time. At that time, we generate a pre-assigned URL and hand over the pre-assigned URL to a person. Okay, so we have to do it through the command line. Okay, we I'm going to show you quickly how we do it. So we'll go to the SDK, and then in SDK we'll type a command in order to generate a pre-signed URL. And once that pre-signed URL is generated, I'll show you how you can share it with people and then they can use it. Okay, so clear. So let me just open a VMware my virtual box, and then I'll share. I'll show you how we can generate a pre-signed URL. Okay.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
So as we are in, it took much more time. So as we are in, to generate a pre-signed URL, what we have to do is we have to write AWS S3, and then we have to use pre-signed. We have to copy the URL, right? So let me just copy the Sony demo thing. Just that went. Okay, so right, so we have to write pre-sign, and then I have to write S3 : / the bucket S3 bucket name. I think that's the bucket name is Sony Demo 2. So we'll copy that, Sony Demo 2. Okay, and then I think the other one was 349.txt. Profile I'm going to use is Reconnaissance_deployment. Press enter. Maybe you meant, yeah, pre-sign, not minus, but pre-sign. Raccoon deployment could not be found. Let me just check. Cat tilde AWS/credentials, and I have this as a file, so I'll copy that, and then again profile as this, and press enter. And now you have a URL over here. Okay, so which expires by default. It expires, it goes for an hour, but if you wanted to expire it on a specific time, you can also write expire option. And once you have that URL created, you can just copy this URL and click on open link. Okay, and when you click on open link, it will allow you to have an access of the object, because that has you see that hello from txt. It is able to, you are able to access it, and you will be able to access it for a longer period of an hour. So pre-assigned URL is granting user an access to an object without making your bucket public. Okay, so for that purpose we use a pre-signed URL. Okay, so let's just By default, it goes with 1 hour. So if you want to expire it on a specific period, you just use a tab, one more term called expire in, and in the expire in, you give a seconds for how many minutes, or you give a time in seconds actually. Sorry, milliseconds actually. Sorry, seconds actually, and in the seconds you mention how long this URL is going to stable. But if you don't mention that it expires in, then it will go for an hour. Okay, so that's how it is. For 60 minutes it goes for by default, and if you say expires in, and then you give us a particular time period for what it's been you wanted to give it for. Okay, so that's a pre-signed URL. Then there is one more important term available, which is called Cloudfront, and how we can access the S3 bucket, or how we can see. Right now the issue is, let me just share my screen again. Right now the issue is when you access the object, right? When you access the object, the issue came up is this, that if you're accessing the object from S3 and you click on any of the object, then on the top you will see that URL. Okay, let me just open it. On the top you will see the URL that it goes with S3 console, Amazon, something something, and it goes with your bucket name into it. Okay, so you expose much more information than that has been required. Okay, so even you see that it goes to Sony demo 2 S3. So that Sony demo is an S3 bucket name, and then S3 is the bucket. So it's how we conclude that it's a bucket name by looking to S3. And this is a standard way of writing your bucket name into a URL. So if you have a bucket name saying that XYZ, so it will be xyz.s3 dot then your region and then your Amazon and so on. So actually what happens, even you see the object URL on down, you see that your bucket name is included into when you're trying to access an object. So your bucket name is a sensitive information which we really don't want to share with anyone. So we use a CloudFront. Okay, what is CloudFront? CloudFront is a CDN. Now what is CDN? I hope you know what CDN is, right? So I will not explain what CDN is, but I guess that you know what CDN is, right? Content delivery system, right? Do you guys know what CDN is? Content delivery network, sorry. A geographical distributed network of proxy servers and their data centers. Anything about that you know about it? No? Or yes, you know what CDN is, or you don't know what CDN is?
Yes.
Okay, so you know what CDN is. So in AWS we have CDN in a CDN service we call that CloudFront. So CloudFront is a content delivery network in AWS, which serves securely delivers that securely delivers your data, videos, application APIs to customers. And we can integrate CloudFront with S3 as well in order to enforce users to access the objects not from the direct URL but from the CloudFront. Okay, so to do that, first of all we go to CDN. We go to CDN service CloudFront, but before that we'll go to a bucket and see that we don't have any bucket policies, or we did just deleted all the bucket policy which we created. Okay, so I'll go to permission to do so. To permission, and just wanted to verify that we don't have a bucket policy here. If we do have, then I'm going to delete that. So delete this bucket policy. So that's been deleted. Now I'm going to go to a CloudFront now. So CloudFront.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Okay. Oh, I have it one over here that's been disabled. Let me just okay. So to do a Cloudfront distribution, what you have to do is you have to click on Create Distribution. Okay, and then what we want is we want a web, right? We don't want RTMP because RTMP distribution, sorry, it's going to be discontinued, and we don't have a flash media files which we wanted to share, so that's not an RTMP distribution. We'll go with web. Click on Get Started. Okay, so what will be a origin? I'll select the Sony demo 2. That will be the bucket name which I wanted to go for. Origin path, if any of these things on domain path you're not sure of, you can click on this and it will give you information about that. So it's an optional, you don't have to worry about this because this is the path where if you wanted to have a path slash this file slash that file, so that path you wanted to give, you can give it over here, but it's an optional field, so I'll leave that part over here. Then enable origin shield. I don't want to enable the shield services, which I'll explain later on. Origin ID is this. Restrict bucket access. Yes, I want users to come from CloudFront URL, not from the object URL. So do you want to restrict bucket access? I said yes, I want to restrict that. Then origin identity. Do you have an origin identity already? You want to choose that? No, I want CloudFront to create a new identity for me. Okay, and that's what it came up. Grant read permission on bucket. Yes, update the bucket policy accordingly so that CloudFront can access it. Okay. Connection attempts can be made. Timeout. That's all looks well. Leave it as default. Path is default, HTTP and HTTPS. And if you want only the policy to come from HTTPS, you will say HTTPS only. But at that time, it will require for a certificate. So I just wanted to be used as a default, whatever it comes as. Get and head, cache, and also right, use a cache policy and origin request. Yeah, it looks good. Smooth streaming, and keep everything as what it looks like. Nothing has to be changed. Logging, do you want to create a logs, like whoever had access this, you want to create a log of that, you can just say on and then give a prefix of, then give a bucket name where you want to keep the logs of the users who have accessed your bucket objects. But that I don't want for now. So enable IPv6, like IPv6 users can also access the object. I said yes. Distribution state is enabled, and now click on create distribution. Okay, so what's gonna happen? It's gonna create a domain distribution for you, and if you go to a distribution, you would be able to see that. So it takes time. Okay, so it takes time, and after a period of time, it's gonna create you it's gonna create a domain name for you. Over here, it's already enabled, but it's still in deployed phase. So you see that this is a URL. So next time you want to access the bucket content, you will click on this. This will take you to the content to be accessed, but it has to be come into a status of deployed. But right now you see that it comes into an in progress. This can take up to 20 minutes to an hour to deploy the CloudFront distribution. So we created a CloudFront. We'll come back to it, and we'll see it once this gets deployed. We see the status as it's been deployed. So if it's been deployed, the next time we wanted to access the object of S3 bucket, we will not go from the URL. Even if we try to go from the URL, we'll get an error. We'll go from the domain name. So you see the domain cloudfront.net, and then you'll write this domain name on the URL saying d3 something something cloudfront.net and slash the file name which you wanted to go for. Okay. So if you have your own domain, you can also give it, like when you are creating a distribution, if you own a domain, that's what the web will ask you on this, that if you have you wanted to create a new domain or you own a domain already. So if you own a domain already, you see that's default Cloudfront domain, or SSL certificates will be used it, and then there is a domain name. So do you have a domain name already that you can give it over here? You can select that. If you don't have a domain name, then allow Cloudfront to create one for you. And because I don't have a domain name, that's why I uh, allowed Cloudfront to create one for me, and that's how it has created a domain name for me, and which is still in progress. So it created a domain name for me. So if you have a domain name already, then you can include that domain name, and with that domain name you can access the files of S3. Okay, so what you are doing is you are using your CDN service to enforce, or you are enforcing your S3 to user CDN services, or you are making your users to come to a S3 but come through a CDN. Okay, come through the CDN, because as I said, we have a sensitive information on our S3 buckets. Like if you see if you see the S3 services.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.